We just got done reviewing Kung Fu Panda, Dragon Knight on Netflix. Highly recommend you go watch that. Please make sure all the kids watch that. And if your kids out there have not seen Kung Fu Panda, what are you doing? Because that movie is a great childhood classic. But we're gonna switch this to a very non-child friendly topic, which is safe sex. We're gonna be talking about a movie that came out on Z5 called Chhatriwali. Now, this movie, if you guys have been following us for the last few months or even over the past year, we've covered a movie very similar to this, also on Z5 called John Hit Manjari. And in that movie, we came to the conclusion that John Hit Manjari didn't really address this topic very well. But before we really dive into that, let me talk to you about Chhatriwali first. So Chhatriwali is a film that attempts to tackle a very important subject, which is the promotion of safe sex through the use of condoms. I don't really have to be the expert here to tell the world that the use of condoms and the promotion of safe sex is one very important way that we can potentially prevent unwanted pregnancies and other things. And so for that to be the theme of this movie, I'm really expecting a lot out of this. Really expecting some sort of theme to kind of just punch the audience right there. The main character is Sanya Dhingra, who's played by Rakul Preet Singh, and she's a fictional chemistry whiz who works as a quality control expert in a condoms factory. And she faces significant resistance from the community in her efforts to educate people about the importance of using condoms to prevent unwanted pregnancies and health hazards, especially too because she's also a woman in this role. So as we saw in John Hit Manjari, not only was she a woman in the condom business, but she was also trying to promote safe sex, kind of a double whammy in terms of what you kind of have to fight against. I do think this film is very well intentioned, but let me tell you a few things that I think it struggles with. So most of the characters, particularly the men, are portrayed as being resistant to the idea of using condoms. And it kind of falls back on kind of these jaded lines and just these I don't really know if they're trying to go for a comedic effort or something with these lines, but they just seem kind of out of touch. They talk about how it's not appropriate for young boys and girls to even be really thinking about condoms, let alone using them. It's also just kind of backward in its treatment of the subject matter. It suggests that women are the ones who are responsible for reproductive status, while men are only interested in having fun. Like I said, if they're coming at this with a comedic intent, these were just jokes that seemed very much out of touch because as we all know, in 2023, that certainly is not the standard that we are trying to have out there. I think one weakness of this film, overall, is its script. So I mean, we have our quality control expert. She's really pushing to try and just increase not only the quality of the product that's being out there, but to even educate youth out there. I mean, there's many scenes where she's trying to take a lead or take an initiative on some of these things, but not only is she being shut down by some of her coworkers, but the broader audience themselves, the people that she's trying to spread this message to, don't even really want to listen to her. And like I said, if we go back to the script, there's many instances where we see these jaded lines. Sonny faces significant resistance from even her husband's family, her own family that she's married into, and even her husband is portrayed as being hesitant to supporting her efforts. So this film kind of takes two topics on hand. One, it talks about prejudice against women in the workplace, especially if they're in a male-dominated space. But two, it's also not really effectively delivering the theme of promoting safe sex, promoting the use of condoms, and everything like that. And even suggesting that women will be the ones that experience the negative side effects from using condoms. So very, very weird movie. Ultimately, I thought it fell short. I thought it fell way short, this film did a way worse job than John Hit Manjari. At least that one kind of made sense. They just didn't really dive 100% in to the idea of spreading these themes. But this one just kind of dropped the ball, in my opinion. I don't know. And what is it with some of these movies? Why even bother trying to make this into a movie topic if you're not going to really help the subject matter at all, or help try and progress the literature in any way? What are your thoughts on it?
So I have a question for you, Michael. Was the movie a satire, or was it straight up sermonizing?
You know, that's the thing I could not tell throughout the entire thing, because in my eyes, I wanted to view it as satire. I wanted to, and I feel like it was coming as well intentioned. But what I must say is that, like, a lot of the jokes that were just kind of being delivered, to me at least, felt very out of, even for satire, it felt a little out of touch. Because usually with satire, we see things in a slapstick kind of way, or we see things where it's so obviously like a joke, or it's so obviously, trying to, make light or make comedy out of something, that the audience can tell. But not only across my review, but across multiple people who have seen this movie, I think it's kind of a general consensus on that this movie wasn't really delivering the theme that it was trying to. One thing with Jahim and Jari I thought was interesting is it was kind of satirical in a way, but this one was very much also too, like, not just about the safe sex and condoms, but also about the misogyny lines, and the woman aspect of it as well. It
So
kind of was like,
I see a lot of these movies being made as satires because the filmmakers feel that if they tell people straight up without joking about it, they might feel bad, or
sure,
it might not come. It's like sugarcoating the pill, right?
sure,
So a lot of these movies come across as satires, but if they're not satires, they sermonize people to the extent. It's just like the word feminism took took such a negative connotation for a lot of people, men and women both. Because it was sermonized. It was
yeah,
repeatedly meant something to everybody that wasn't positive.
yeah,
So it's the same thing here. They're trying to push these concepts in a way that would allow the masses to watch and to understand these issues in a satirical way. But my problem with that right now is, yeah, it would work in a situation where people who are watching it really understand the core of the issue.
yeah,
But a lot of these people don't understand the core of the issue. Even women don't,
yeah,
because a lot of these women are so uneducated that they think that it is the way it is. This is
yeah,
it will give us diseases and is a man's prerogative. uh, it's a very layered issue for a lot of masses that it's intended for. However,
yeah,
it's also a complicated issue. It's not just gonna be you're making a movie that's a great that's a great lesson, that you want to say something about. Make it seriously. The moment
exactly.
you start kidding around it, that entire issue becomes a very light issue for people to take interest in.
Yeah.
So
And just kind of going off of that too, like, I definitely think this movie would have been able to be a success had maybe, instead of focusing on what the current narrative is, which in some communities, really the narrative is actually against women when it comes to the use of condoms, which might be very accurate in the real world and may have been even appropriate to use in this. However, what they didn't do to combat that is talk about the main problem at hand, which is that men themselves too aren't being responsible in the use of condoms and in the practice of safe sex. And while they tried to do that, there, I guess I should say that the comedy within that main problem didn't match some of the jokes that they were bringing to the table as
a lot
well.
of
So it
these
did feel
writers
very
and a lot of
one-sided.
these writers and filmmakers have to realize that if they want to if they want to elevate the status of women, uh the state of women status of women is not going to get elevated by you preaching.
Yeah,
You gotta make we need stories of men who understand women,
yeah,
because half of the problem is men.
yeah,
90% of problem, not half, but 90% of problem is men. If men were to start rethinking their positions, then women would and I'm talking about this because there are a lot more women who are uneducated than men are who are uneducated. There are a lot more women who don't have exposure to
yeah,
rethink their lives than men, right? So if we were to create more egalitarian society, I think the storytelling needs to be for men.
And it doesn't even need to be complex, because even when they do make a male as the focus of the stories, a lot of times it comes as like a savior type of a role. We've seen that plenty of times where they try to address this issue and this man comes as like the saving figure. It just simply needs to show just kind of problem, solution, and do so in a funny way. I think this movie tried to do it, so I will give it that. I'm not saying that this movie came at us with bad intentions. I'm just simply saying the script and the delivery didn't necessarily seem that they were adequately addressing those themes. Wow, I could be an auctioneer. You hear how I'm rattling that off? It gets better each episode. But we're going to wrap up here. Just as a little recap, we had 3 shows that we reviewed here. Highly recommend that you guys visit our website, daisies.live, where you can read all the reviews. In fact, we actually upload these reviews before you can hear them. So, by going to our website, you are staying up to date, the hour it comes out on our reviews. You can even interact with us. If there's something in the review you didn't like, or if there's something you really agreed with, head over to Daisy's Livegram on Instagram or Daisies.live on Twitter and let us know your thoughts. We love to react and we love to chat with our audience. So we would love to see your love and support there. But until next time, we'll be catching you later with the best reviews, because we watch these so you don't have to. Take care.